Hey guys, Ted from Immersion here, and I just wanted to do a quick overview about a new series that is premiering right now. But if you're here for the action and you want to just get to the top 10 Smash Brothers characters, you can click the Smash ball right here to jump ahead. For those of you who are curious, this new series that we're going to be debuting on Tuesdays is called, plainly, Top 10 Tuesday. And what this is going to be is every Tuesday, either myself or one of the other members of Nerd Immersion is going to release a top 10 list, varying from all sorts of things. A lot of stuff's obviously going to be gaming related and that kind of stuff, but we could have movies and comics and a top 10 list of some sort. And just another follow-up is some could be here in video format, you'll see here on YouTube. Some are going to be in posted article format on nerdimmersion.com. I will upload just a small little video here to YouTube to just say, hey, there's a new Top 10 Tuesday on Nerd Immersion if it is an article, and same thing with the video being posted on the website. But anyway, that's my little intro for that, so let's get into it. My top 10 characters for Smash Brothers. As I'm sure you're all aware at this point, one of the most revolutionary things that's ever happened to Smash Brothers is happening right now for this current generation. Following a Nintendo Direct about a month or so ago, Nintendo released what they're calling the Smash Ballot, where you can go and put in your name, your gender, and I think it's just actually your gender, your email, and what character you would like to be in Smash Brothers. They limit it to only one per person, and the current deadline for this is October 5th. So be on the lookout to make sure you get your vote cast for whichever Smash Brothers character you wanted. So to get in on the hype like everybody else is doing, myself, I decided to give you guys my list of top 10 Smash Brothers characters. So here we go. First up, Skull Kid from Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask. Growing up, I didn't really enjoy Majora's Mask too much. Not that it wasn't a good game, I just didn't give it a fair shake because it was an Ocarina of Time too. But I think the game can obviously benefit from more Zelda characters, having only 3. And man, there really are the big 3, and I'd rather not have it be Tingle. So I think the Skull Kid fits in a pretty good slot, and he sort of fills that we need villains role. So I think there could be an interesting moveset too, between playing the Ocarina, summoning the moon, that kind of stuff. So, Skull Kid, number 10. Number 9 is a, I would say, pretty well overlooked game. And this is a character that I thought might be maybe a little redundant with the fact that we have one robot and Rob the Robot, but nonetheless, Chibi Robo. I haven't had too much experience with this, but my sister loved this game growing up, and I always would sit around and watch her play it, and while it was a little weird of a game, I do think it could fit really well in Smash Brothers. He's got a helicopter kind of Inspector Gadget style, and I could see the movesets really starting to develop, and I was actually hopeful for him in Brawl, but if they ever wanted to make more Chibi Robo games, putting him in Smash Brothers is a great way to do so. Pulling from another Nintendo IP, I'd say the Inklings from Splatoon. While the game's not out yet, I'm excited to play it. I did get to see it a little bit at PAX East, and it was great to play. So I would think one of the Inklings would be a natural fit. They're already planning on making Inkling amiibos, so you might have cross-reference there to Smash Brothers. So that's already part of it. And I think it's always great to try to inject your own new stuff into your own game rather than trying to go to outside third-party stuff. And I also think that because an Inkling is a new character in a Nintendo-only game, we have a higher chance of getting that than, say, some other third-party character. Now this is nostalgic for me and draws from my absolute, hands-down favorite original Nintendo game, and that would be Bobble. While we lost the Ice Climbers in the transition to Smash 4, I think that there is still a place for a dual character, not in the vein of Duck Hunt where they're kind of two characters but they're one, where there are actually two characters together and one can die and the other one can still keep playing. And I think Bub and Bob from Bubble Bobble would be a great way to do that. You've got two characters working together, constantly blowing bubbles, kind of taking the place of the ice climber's little, ice shot. And you can catch people in the bubbles, which could, potentially be strategic, but also could help your opponents if you get them in a bubble and they're off the stage. It'll float them up a little bit. And with the amount of weird power-ups and things like that you could get in Bubble Bobble, I could see plenty of them being utilized as different movesets. Or they could go in the vein of Duck Hunt and throw other games, or Pac-Man, other games in as the different special moves. And that'd be a pretty good way, I think, to round out those two characters. Plus, I mean, dinosaurs blowing bubbles. How can you go wrong with that? My choice for number 6 is a Pokemon. There's been a lot of hype and build-up around getting another Pokemon in the Smash roster, and I think that that's a great idea, and my personal pick would be Scizor. One of my favorite Pokemon, hands down, and we've actually seen Scizor in a couple of different iterations of Smash Bros. In the past, but only as a Pokeball. I think the various moves that Scizor has, and the fact that it's a bipedal Pokemon, really help it edge out a lot of other Pokemon. My favorite Pokemon's Kingler, but I don't really think a sidestepping crab is a good Smash fighter. So I'd say Scizor. I mean, with different speed and agility attacks, you've got, superpower, all sorts of bug-based moves. You could throw in a counter and things like that. And I guess you could kind of, when I think about it, I'm thinking sort of similar to Lucario's moveset, but it works. And Scizor also has a Mega Evolution, so that would also be conducive to a Smash attack. So I'd say add Scizor. Number 5 is pulling from another Nintendo IP that seems to have kind of been left to the wayside for at least a console generation at this point. But Isaac from Golden Sun. I know a lot of other YouTubers and gamers are all pushing for this, and I've been pushing for Isaac since back in Brawl. When we saw like the little glimpses of the assist trophy, I freaked out, and I know he's going to be in Super Smash Flash and things like that. But I think that Isaac needs to get his full treatment, not just weird, whatever, earth movement hand thing that he had in Brawl. And I mean, really, any of the Golden Sun characters would be great, but Isaac is the most iconic and the main character that you play as in the games. And the way you could switch up all your different move sets, give yourself different weapons, there's plenty of room for them to draw something to make a move set out of. And I'd love to see another Golden Sun game. And again, like I mentioned back with Chibi Robo, what's a better way to get interest in your game and get a new game out than putting it in Smash Brothers? I mean, for me personally, Fire Emblem was a game that I never even heard of until I'd seen Marth and Roy show up in Smash Brothers Melee, and now Fire Emblem is one of my favorite Nintendo franchises. So, Nintendo, do us a favor, throw Isaac in Smash 4. So as this list starts to wind down, you're gonna start seeing more characters coming in from other franchises and third-party characters. Well, this character is a Nintendo character, but due to a third-party help license with the game, we haven't seen him appear in any other game since the one that he debuted in, and that's Geno from Super Mario RPG. I know not just myself, but there are a ton of Geno fanboys out there, and he was an awesome character that we only got to see once in that game. And yes, I won't spoil the story, but due to the events of the story, he technically could not possibly be a character going forward. But in Super Mario Brothers, the Superstar Saga, the Game Boy Advance game, he showed up as a little puppet on like the slot machine. And if you want to talk about a tease, I even heard in that game he and Malo were initially supposed to do cameos, and they were both pulled. So bring Geno back. You had awesome moves between a Geno cannon and Geno flash and all those different things. You could make smash attacks easily. Plus, it'd be great to see one of my favorite characters make its return. Even if it's not an official Super Mario RPG 2, I'd take Geno in Smash for sure. Simon Belmont. I personally don't think I need to say anything about this, but really any Belmont character would work for me. Trevor, Richter, doesn't matter. But I feel Simon started off on the Nintendo system, so let's bring him home. And personally, I think it'd be great if we got like 8-bit Simon Belmont, because we have like Game & Watch. And I realized they didn't do that with Mega Man. I guess that probably would have been their opportunity. But there are some games, the Castlevania game that's on the 360 and the PS3, where you can play as any of the different characters from Castlevania, and it's multiplayer. When you get Simon Belmont in that, all the other characters are normal sprites, but he's an 8-bit sprite. But the whip is an iconic weapon of the Belmont family. That's great for your regular A attacks. We've seen Simon Belmont show up in PlayStation All-Stars, but let's bring him to Smash. You've got all your different, you could do item crushes, you can do, you know, all the different side weapons like the boomerang or cross and the dagger and holy water and all that stuff is perfect for all your different B moves. And, I mean, I think Simon Belmont, I know a lot of other people would love to have Simon Belmont, so let's bring another character from Konami in. I know we didn't get Snake this time, so let's bring Simon Belmont. Well, if you know anything about me, and you've been following any of my thoughts before Smash Brothers came out, you'll recognize this next character. But my last recommendation was Simon Belmont, so if you were to have Simon Belmont, Mega Man, and Pit from Kid Icarus all in one game, why not bring together their captain who brought them all together the first time? Captain N, the Game Master. For those of you scratching your head who have no idea who I'm referencing, Captain N the Game Master was a very short-lived cartoon and comic series from the 80s when Nintendo was at the hype of Nintendo Mania trying to build as much as they could. Some of you may have seen or remember fondly Super Mario Bros. Super Show or the Legend of Zelda cartoon series. Well, right around that same time came Captain N the Game Master. Captain N, or Kevin Keene, was a kid who was just playing his Nintendo one day and he got sucked inside his TV. And there he was in Videoland with Princess Lana, made-up character for the show. But he needed to help protect Videoland from all of the various villains like Donkey Kong and Mother Brain and the Eggplant Wizard and whoever else. Dr. Wily. And his team that he had to help him do that was Kid Icarus, but I didn't call him Pit then, Mega Man, and Simon Belmont. And, you know, he occasionally would join with other characters. He ran into Link at one point. And in the comic books, he was with Samus all the time. But either way, he was the first way that Nintendo characters all came together in one universe. Let's bring Captain N to Smash. Plus, you have an awesome, your gun, he used to use the Zapper light gun as his gun. He had the Nintendo controller belt buckle that would let him pause or super jump. I mean, these are screaming movesets. I've even seen some players and people on DeviantArt have actually made up a whole moveset and like art for Bring Captain N to Smash. So, hashtag Captain N for Smash. Let's get him in here and, you know, revive the long-lost Nintendo character. Here we are, number 1. So, along with a lot of other gamers and fans out there, I gotta go Shovel Knight. Shovel Knight, I was originally pushing for Captain N for a long time, and Shovel Knight kind of edged him out. After, you know, I went through and I've played Shovel Knight, and I beat it several times, and it just released on the Xbox, so now you can play against the Battletoads, which is awesome. But Shovel Knight is just a great character, and I feel like he fits into Smash Brothers really well. All of the different items and drawing from classic games like Zelda 2 or Mega Man or what have you, really makes him fit in with all the other characters. Well, I realize he's a third-party character. He did get his start on 2 Nintendo consoles, on the Wii U and the 3DS. I also had the opportunity to speak with the creators of Shovel Knight at PAX East, and they both said they'd love to have Shovel Knight in Smash Brothers because more than anything, they want a Shovel Knight amiibo, and I have to agree, I'd love a Shovel Knight amiibo. So, that's it. Number 1 for my Smash Brothers list would be Shovel Knight. by Yacht Club Games. If you haven't checked it out, it's on every console now, pretty much. Make sure you do yourself a favor and go check it out. Alright guys, that's it for this Top 10 Tuesday, and tune in next week for another Top 10.